Hello, welcome to another Q&A for the 2024 San Francisco Independent Short Film Festival. We are lucky enough to have some of the filmmakers here with us for the Short and Scary program. Hey, filmmakers.
Hey,
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you.
Welcome and congrats.
thank you
Congrats
so
not
much.
only on getting into our film festival, but finishing a short film. I know how hard it is being a filmmaker. Any first-time filmmakers here? Yeah, first film, really.
Yeah,
Well done, sir.
thank you. Thank you.
Well done. What's your overall kind of takeaway impression? Are you going to make another film after this one? Any challenges?
Plenty of challenges. Yeah, I certainly hope. I certainly hope to. I mean, I've been working as an editor for about 13 years, so I've worked really closely with directors. So I got definitely a crash course and got to see like different methodologies. Um, and yeah, it was sort of a kind of thing where I just woke up one morning and said, I love making other people's films, but if I'm going to make one of my own, I kind of got to get on it basically. So that was sort of the impetus to this whole project.
Is that ultimately your dream and ambition to be like a full-time director, full-time filmmaker, as opposed to an editor for other people?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is for most filmmakers, right? You got to pay the bills, but while you pursue your dreams.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
mean, I love both. I do love editing. If that's what it ends up being, that's great. But yeah, I love filmmaking even more.
and then I kind of jumped ahead, but Ed, since we're on you, if each one of you would just identify yourself, they already seen your films, but identify who you are and what role and what film, please. Ed, we'll start with you.
Sure. I wrote and directed Don't Hate Me, and I'm Ed Carson.
And then I think I'll go to Kelly next because she's in your film, yes?
Yep,
hmm
I'm Kelly Grago. I'm an actor, and I'm in Don't Hate Me.
Excellent. Thanks. And one of the brothers next who would like to go.
My name is Nick. I am one of the directors of The Coop, along with my brother.
Hey, I'm Chris Rydell. I'm also the other half of the directing team and acted in The Coop.
And wrote it.
Yeah.
Well, adapted it.
Adapted, yes.
So let's go with inspiration. Where'd the idea come from, brothers? Nick and Chris, I'll start with you. How'd this all
Well,
begin?
yeah, we developed a relationship with a friend of ours named Peter Bebergal. He's a great writer. You should pick up his book called Strange Frequencies. It's incredible. And we had been working on a couple different projects together. And when the pandemic hit, we were like, we got to make something. We had lost a feature, it got stalled out. So we're like, let's shift gears. We've done a couple of like indie rom-com kind of stuff that we really love. And we're like, let's get our hand, we wanted to dive into kind of darker stuff. And basically the conversation was like, Peter was like, what do you guys actually practically have? And my brother had built a chicken coop because we had chickens in our backyard.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it all stemmed from. And we're really obsessed with like kind of folklore and in that realm. So it began out of a conversation of, what do
Like,
you
what do you have here during pandemic times? Really?
Like, what do you have resource-wise?
Yeah,
Yeah,
resource-wise, literally.
Like,
What do you have that we can shoot and know where we can shoot? And then that's where the story kind of built out of, and we kicked around a couple ideas, and Peter sent this amazing short story over to us about guilt and dealing with, what you've done and not being able to escape your past and kind of connecting it to the Baba Yaga. And for us it was really, really fun. And so we adapted it, and then our amazing producers, MK and Nico at Half and Half, who also Nico is an incredible cinematographer, shot it for us. We kind of found a location. Well, they found a location in Vallejo at this amazing house called the Winslow House, which
Uh,
was haunted and wonderful. And it
yeah.
just sort of built out from there. And but really it started simply from a conversation of us going, okay, we're losing our minds. We need to be
and
on
what
scene.
what kind of story do you want to tell? Something a
Yeah.
little bit spooky, and then what do we got to shoot with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
Well,
resources?
that's the indie starting point. They say, well,
Yeah.
use what you have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And I think even Robert Rodriguez covered it in his book that he published years ago.
Yep.
Make a list of what you have, and then
Right.
he came up with El Mariachi.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And so that's where it all started from, was just looking around and going, we got this crazy coop. And then Nick had built a smaller version of the coop, which also
Yeah.
kind of set up a gag later in the film
We
for
were
a
working
separate.
on another idea. I think that we were going to use a miniature of the coop for something, and I was like, well, we got a big one and like a 1/8 scale model one. There you go. And we sent pictures to to Peter, and he was like, okay, this is cool. And then
Cool,
just kind of built from there.
cool.
Yeah.
Ed, how about you? What was the seed of the spark of your film?
Uh, Yeah, there's a lot of different influences. I'd say the initial spark came from this book I'd read called So You've Been Publicly Shamed, which is by the journalist John Ronson, kind of looking at cancel culture on the internet and how it could be sort of a double-edged sword, where, on the one hand, it's a way to implement justice in the way traditional methods might not. But on the flip side, particularly when it came to ordinary people, someone's getting their life ruined for a tweet that maybe was insensitive, but they realized that and apologized. And, the internet kind of moves on, but this journalist went and sort of explored what happened to their life as a result. And so those kind of ideas were reverberating in my head. And then at the same time was the rise of generative AI and deep fakes and, synthetic media and stuff like that. And I think I saw what most people see, which is there's this like toxic element of the internet that's not really interested in the truth and can be very divisive. And then you have this tool that can create realistic fake media very easily. And so you see this sort of perfect storm.
Mm.
And yeah, the last thing I'll say, like getting back to the book, is that the stories that were the most horrifying, so it was good for like making the movie scary, but also for the social commentary, were the ones directed at people who weren't voluntarily in the spotlight, ordinary people. And it was like especially terrible for women. The abuse they take is really on another level than for men. So it was important for me that it was about an ordinary woman specifically. And that was like pretty much the only prerequisite, was just like a woman who could be of a young professional age. And so we cast quite a wide net. And so Kelly outshined like literally a couple hundred people basically.
Right on, Kelly. Well, we'll get to Kelly in a moment, but you inspired me to remember some things about your movie too. It makes sense that you're an editor because
Yes.
Kelly's character is an editor, right?
Yes.
So now it makes perfect sense. And also then I can see where, that one frame, there's kind of like a key pivot point for Kelly's dilemma or the whole, unwinding of her fame or whatever, that one frozen frame of where it's a different person. I remember that was kind of trippy and scary, really good too. You can feel how her character would be, mortified or bewildered or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it wasn't that dissimilar from these guys, where I didn't have a ton of, didn't have a big budget, so I was like, I'll shoot this in my apartment and I'll do what I know. And I did genuinely feel, when it's a story delving into like deepfakes and stuff, a video editor actually is kind of an interesting target of that, someone who has a built-in knowledge of it. So there's not like a lot of explaining needed for that character.
Mhm.
And then completely coincidentally, in our first rehearsal, Kelly mentioned that she does video editing as well. So it was like,
Awesome.
Do you, Kelly, do video editing as well?
Yeah, I have an editing company,
Oh.
and I'm primarily an audio editor.
So
Yeah,
you
so
could
it
really
kinda worked
relate when
out.
you read the page, when you read the script.
Yeah, you try and look for things that you don't have a very long bridge to kind of gap for a character like that. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm an editor too, and I could feel the pain of the client just dragging on the deadline, the finish line, and want another revision.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Some of those lines were ripped straight from real life.
Yeah.
She had to tone it down. That seems much longer. And my producer like, this is very indulgent and we need to get to the movie. So the version where I'm just, going through
Well,
all the
I'm
previous.
sure a lot of audiences will relate. A lot of filmmakers in the audience will relate to that for sure.
I hope so.
So Kelly, tell me how the process went of getting attached to this project. Auditions, casting call, meeting Ed, whatever.
yeah, the audition process started on Backstage, and then an in-person audition. And we rolled on some takes, and I really liked the character. I said when the character is not too far from, not a completely different version of you,
Right.
that's always nice, when you find a lot of similarities there. And it was a very collaborative experience. I could talk about character for way longer than anybody wants to listen to me talk about character. And Ed indulged me in those conversations, and we talked about the character beyond the page. It was good.
So, real quick, are you primarily an editor or an actor?
No, I'm an actor.
Okay, but you have an editing company.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Just curious. So what did you think about Ed's? Ed, did you edit your film?
I did, yeah.
What did you think about his editing job, Kelly?
I thought it was amazing. I got to see it for the first time on a big screen, which Ed specifically, we waited for me to see the film until the premiere, the private premiere, and it's always surreal. I mean, that's a dream. It is my dream, and when you get to see yourself on a big screen, and it's part of a project that a bunch of people that are super talented came together and made. It's a really special
I'm going
thing.
to add, and it's really good, because I've been in those situations where the big screen premiere and it's not good. So,
Oh yeah,
so I mean that's even better.
I've
Like
been there.
both these films are really good and trippy, for lack of a better word. So, what about you guys? Are you satisfied with your outcome? When you saw it, have you seen it on the big screen yet? And when you first saw the final cut or the result, did you accomplish what you set out to do?
I'll let you go, Nick.
Yeah, we cut it. I'm also am an editor.
I'll say Nick's an editor as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what pays the bills.
Do you guys ever break out in fisticuffs, over edits and working together?
No, I feel like we stopped fighting each other when we were teenagers and we realized we could hurt each other, and then we decided.
Well, he threw me across the room by my neck. I was like, I think I should probably stop fighting this guy physically.
Yeah. What if we fought other people together? That was
Exactly.
the better.
So
finish the film. You have the goal in mind.
Exactly. We're like, we'll figure it out. And, we kind of have an operating principle of if one of us has a stronger opinion, which typically one of us does, then we just go with that one. It's easy. If it's like, do you think something should be this way? And I'm like, I kind of think something should be. It's like, all right, we'll do it your way. And it works out. And it makes it.
You guys feel that when you collaborate together, you really like have that sensibility and that maturity of like, that's the better idea. Or that's the better thing for the project, the movie. Let's choose.
Yeah. I feel like over the years, we've really developed a trust with each other. I mean, there was already an inherent trust as brothers, but we've kind of experienced shooting features to commercials. When people hear, oh, there's brother directors, it's either going to be a really bad experience. People are like, oh God, these guys can't make up their minds. Or it's just sort of like you get double the brains. And that's kind of where we've tried to err more, is like, we're very, like, we like to be very peaceful and we respect each other a lot. So like if we're doing something and Nick's like, I really think the camera should be here, and I just trust him. I know in the edit I'm going to be like, you're right, it should have been there. So
yeah, no, and it's definitely worked out, and we learned pretty early on too, like, because as brothers, our communication style sometimes is short and quick and sounds aggressive, but we're not really mad at each other, but it's just that sibling thing. And if our crew starts to see us speaking at each other in an aggressive, quick way because we're trying to get something done, it's like mom and dad are fighting. What's happening? It's scary. We learn like let's communicate in a calm way, and it's kind of works its way all the way through post. And but yeah, we did all the editing, and it's always one of those weird things to edit your own stuff. I mean, that's what we primarily have done. I mean, I edited our first feature we shot, and it's great, honestly, as an editor to work with another talented editor. And they think differently, they do things differently. You can communicate on that level, that I'm sure you guys understand. You cut your own stuff, but it's really nice when you work with someone who can cut it for you. But budget, short film, we're just like, we got to do it all. We do all the VFX and everything, and it's hard to get to that point where you're like, these scenes are awesome, I like them, but they don't work in the movie. You have to kill your own little things that you love is always a challenge. But I think overall we're super happy with how it.
You should be. And, one of the things that's coming to my mind too is, and it makes sense. The pacing in both these films is well done. It's right. It's spot on. Yeah, maybe it's slow to some people, or maybe it's faster, whatever the impression may be. But it's right on for the stories, I thought. Yeah, and now it makes sense because you're all kind of filmmaker editors or actor editors. So the pacing was really good. You know, they both were taut and tense, and even though maybe it wasn't, you know, horror, right? They were more thriller,
Yeah.
psychological, or whatever. So, yeah. So, you know, well, how did you guys approach the editing and the pacing? And, you know, was it already on the page, or have you edited scary films before? Talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the post process.
well, we've done, you know, like Chris said, our recent feature was, you know, a rom-com, and the one prior to that was kind of like a friendship comedy film. But we've played around in the short space with horror before.
I got to
And
interrupt, you know, because I just remember too. Sorry, and then get back to your thing. But I remember like your film was scary, right? But then I had a couple giggles occasionally.
Good. Good. Yeah.
In a good way. Yeah, I mean that. I
Yeah.
mean that with compliments. It's like, oh,
Good.
they're making me laugh.
yeah, because that's what I was gonna say is, you know, we've done a lot more comedy, and we've, you know, kind of leaned on that in terms of pacing, because comedy and scary, that they're similar in the sense of, like, you know, it's the build up and the payoff, either whether it's a joke or a scare, you pace them in a similar way. And so I think that helped us, you know, kind of work through some of those edits where it's like, this is not hitting. Well, okay, how are we leading our audience into this? There's too much lead up, or there's not enough for this payoff, this moment. So that kind of helped us a lot. And it was really fun to kind of really dig into the genre, because we've only done a couple of other like kind of scarier type things. I don't know, Chris, do you have anything you want to jump on that? But I
I
think
mean,
that's,
just in terms of we've got a really nice group of collective filmmakers that are our best buds, and that we kind of always share stuff with, and everybody has feedback and notes on the first round. We always assume that the first round is going to be, you know, it's going to be a little too fat, got to cut it down. But the pacing was kind of set on the page, and some of the best notes we received was helping, you know, move a section out that kind of freed up a lot of space, that helped it kind of the payoff in the end work better, we think. So yeah, it's sort of like between us and then a collective group of friends that we have, that we're always like, hey, look at this little baby, can you help us? And that are really important.
yeah.
Ed and Kelly, you want to talk about yours as well, the pacing or post production of yours?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can relate to a lot of what was just said, and it's just exceedingly difficult cutting not just something you shot, but something you wrote.
Yeah.
It was my first time really doing that since film school, and I was like really kind of kicking myself at some of the stuff I wrote. I kind of put myself in sort of a corner. And the other funny thing is I really edit documentaries for the most part. So this is like very different style of editing. But it's actually the kind of stuff I really want to be working on. So it was a lot of fun. I probably took a lot more time than someone normally would. And I guess the one way that the documentary editing maybe paid off for me is I was pretty flexible with kind of moving things around, recutting scenes, like getting away from the script. Because, you know, when you're doing doc editing, it's all in the editing, you're writing in the editing. So I was like pretty comfortable with that and being pretty ruthless. I think the first cut was like 25 minutes, which my producer's like, this is way too long.
And
and yeah,
that's a problem.
yeah. And I loved it.
Why is it 30 minutes long?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the other funny thing about it is, you know, I'm guessing it's similar for you guys. Like, I'm doing this around my other jobs,
Yeah.
which is a blessing and a curse, you know, because it's frustrating. You want to just get in the zone and like hone in on it. But it was kind of nice to like, maybe I wouldn't look at it for a week or 10 days. Then I come back and all of a sudden, like, I could see all these issues with it that I couldn't see when I was like in it. So it was this sort of weird thing. I mean, I spent a lot of time and I got a lot of reviews on it because I knew I hadn't done this kind of cutting that much, but I love doing it, and I'm really pleased to hear you like the pacing.
Yeah, well done, well edited, both these films. Kelly, join in here. How was working with Ed on the set? Did he give you lots of direction? Did you guys kind of have a shorthand like these brothers up here? Because you're editors, or, you know, how was the director actor process for you guys?
Well, it was, no, Ed, I really like Ed's directing style. He likes to see where things go, and he doesn't like to, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, if I'm characterizing you in the wrong way, but the experience on that film was, it was more of a discovery. And we also had a really helpful rehearsal process where we were able to iron out things. I come from a theater background, so I find rehearsal really helpful. Not so much if your film is, improv heavy, I feel like that's a little bit detrimental. But if it's not, I feel like ironing out things before you get to set saves a lot of time when you're short on it. And we did that. So yeah, we did develop, a communication system that I think was more robust than if we had just gotten to set day one and met each other, and started working on this day one. You kind of,
that helped you.
yeah, I think so. I mean, you can cut through some of the communicative barriers between actor and director that sometimes, hinder the process in terms of hurt feelings, I really like blunt sort of, okay, that didn't work, or let's pick up the pace, I prefer whatever the fastest way is for us all to get the thing that we're after,
Right.
that whatever that route
whether-
is, if
yeah,
that's
whether it's-
bluntness or if it's,
Less.
if it's kindness and flowery language, then that's what it is.
Right. Right on. And speaking, I don't mean to keep dwelling on the editing, but I remember, it comes to me now, Ed, I loved the shots, and these are probably special effects, of the text and the comments, the messages both behind her. That one shot, she's in bed and it's on the wall. And then the other one where it's kind of like from her, it's from the phone's POV. It's like, it's through the phone, right?
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to do, and it was one of those things where like, I hope this works when we're shooting it, and yeah, I think it paid off. I'm very happy with those shots.
And then also, as far as the editing goes too, or post-production, great use of sound and audio. I mean, I think that was, some of the most powerful things in both these films is how well you used or were restrained on using audio. Chris, talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. We, MK, our producer, was working on a separate project and got in connection with Sam over at Legion Post, who watched a cut of it and said, "Hey, I'd like to be a part of this and bring our team on board to help do a lot of the post-production sound design for it," because obviously it's very, very important. We had kind of like a lot of stuff temped in. And Nick is kind of an incredible jack of all trades. My brother can kind of do everything, which is wonderful. But he, it was an area where we're like, man, we just need to take this to the next level. So they came on board and really hit a home run for us. And on top of that, my brother, who I'm just going to keep telling you, Nick, I'm in love with you as your brother. He's an incredible musician as well. But we wanted a different sound that just sounded like something different, and Jeremy over at Legion as well scored it for us, and we had given him a couple of sounds and work and thoughts, and we're like, get weird with it, and they really just hit a home run for us, and it really helped sell a lot of the moments and build the tension for us, because you're living in sort of that that confined space inside that house, and as the character's dealing with is this real, is this not real, and that grief sort of being played out, you need those sounds to help you.
But even the way you distorted the phone calls, the phone conversations, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun for us. But Nick and I are still, we're getting older, but we're like children. When anything works on camera, we're like, oh my God, there it is. Yes, that's perfect. And so when we started to see cuts that worked like that, we were so excited. And we just appreciate the efficiency of that team as well. And we very much, going back to what you said earlier, going back to like appreciating the blunt sort of direct thing to get the project done. I really resonate with that. And, so that's what Nick was talking about earlier. Sometimes it's like, Nick will, if I'm in the scene, Nick will be like, "Hey, do that better." And I'm like, I know what you mean.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Short words. I get it.
Yeah, just go. I know what you're getting at. So, but yeah, they really hit a home run for us and did everything. I mean, that's the most incredible thing as a director, is bringing on very talented people that take their skill set to the next level, that makes the project really sing. And they did that for us. So we're very grateful.
Right on. Do you guys have any favorite moments from this project? Chris, we're still on you. You answer that. Any highlights, standouts?
This is very random, but when at the very end, the scene where I'm forced to eat the egg and I make the decision to finally eat the egg, First of all, Nick, again, like cooked the perfect egg on the spot. And you know how hard it is to actually get like a good chunk of egg on the foil?
I remember he twirled the egg. Like,
Twirled it. I twirled it like it was
twirl an egg?
pasta, and it just the film gods were with us, and it just stuck, and it was perfect. And the thing is, I love eggs, but I had to pretend like it was disgusting. But it was great. That was probably one of my most favorite moments. Like it's working. It's working.
It's still on the fork.
How about you, Nick? A highlight, a favorite moment from the whole process?
Man, I don't know. There was just so many really cool things. I think having the live chicken involved, and my wonderful girlfriend was a huge help. You know, she was the Bobby, a grip on set. She was also, you know, the chicken wrangler. And anytime we were able to get that bird, a really good shot of that bird doing something that, you know, was a little weird, because chickens are super weird. I don't know if you guys have ever spent much with them, but they're weird animals. They're like weird computer programs that are glitching out all the time. But the moment that you know, it's in the coop and looks like it's alone, and he steals the egg. She was in there holding it buried under a bunch of hay. Like those shots where we were able to hide stuff in a way that it felt realistic. Those kind of moments are my favorite, because it's like I watch it and then I watch it so much that I forget that she was in there, and then it's like, oh my god, I'm falling into the magic of the movie. That kind of stuff really.
Yeah.
Really
I'm very appreciative you didn't show any animal violence or any horror or gore other than eggs being cooked, if you will.
Yeah.
Love animals.
We love animals. We can't hurt them.
Good answer. Good answer. Ed, Kelly, standout moments at any point, any part of the process?
I'd say for me, and it's sort of funny because, you know, editing background, first film, I was most nervous about working with the actor because I don't really act and I hadn't really done it. And so once I was dreading it, there's just part of me I was stressed about it, and just so fortunate to have met Kelly. Like, not only has she become a friend and it's just such a pleasure to work with, she put so much work in around it that she never mentioned, but I could tell. And so for me, it's not a super specific moment, but for me, I actually found rehearsal to be the most fun part of the entire process. And we actually did a lot. We recorded all the rehearsals. So I would, we did, I think 2 or maybe 3 rehearsals. So after each rehearsal, based on the recordings, I'd go and rewrite the script based on some of this like ad libs and also just Kelly's acting style and personality. So it was great for the film, and I had a blast doing it.
That's great. Kelly, how about for you? What was a highlight?
I have to agree. The rehearsals were so much fun. You know, when there's no it's no pressure. Everyone is just being themselves, and we're free to discover. Even though we're recording it, there's no stakes. Like, we're just purely here to figure this stuff out together and make a great thing. And you know, you get the jitters out and stuff. I think another favorite moment was probably. We shot like an improvised dance scene
for the actual the viral video.
Yeah, yeah. In a gazebo in Central Park, and in the rain, and that was just so much fun to be stupid. You know, like to get to do that. For the film and have it be like a real part of the plot. You know, I like to goof around, so that was fun.
You know, Ed just said this is his first film, and he was worried or learned a lot, whatever. And Kelly, we're on you right now. And you always learn something every day of our lives. Kelly, what did you learn with this project? Anything?
No lesson learned. No, you. This
you learn a little bit more about yourself. You learn that.
No. I learned a ton from this project. This was one of the first projects where I really got to dive into a principal character that is, you know, the pinnacle of the story, and that's a really big responsibility, especially when you're working with the writer of the words and of the character. And you know, I figured out a lot of things about my own personal process that I would change, and or that, you know, certain things I found worked randomly that I've kept in my process. And I think ultimately I learned that you need to just alter your approach case by case. And
Flexible
I
and
feel like
open.
my approach to every piece now is different. And I kind of went into it thinking that that wasn't the case. I kind of went into it thinking that there was a set way that I need to work on a thing. But for some pieces and some characters,
Yeah.
you gotta figure out another way.
You got to be adaptive and flexible. Yeah, right on. Good words. Ed, what'd you learn? You can do it. You can make a film,
Yeah.
your own film.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good question. What what else did I learn though? I guess, I'm used to being an editor. I have Command Z, which I wish I could, undo, which I wish I could do in life all the time. And, when you're on set, you don't have that option. I think that's what, pushed me into editing in the first place. So it was a good learning lesson to come super prepared, but be ready to adapt. And I did say on set, like, my one superpower as an editor, I'm curious if the brothers feel the same way as being an editor. I was very confident when I had something and we could move on, or when and there was only a couple times I kind of wish I'd shot a little more, but for the most part, I was pretty good about that. But there were times that things just did not go how I expected, even as controlled as I tried to make it. It's kind of funny that Kelly says her favorite thing was Dancing in the Rain, because we were not planning on rain. That was actually my nightmare story. So that was a great example of like trusting my team and not like freaking out. And I think we actually came up with something better than I'd written. So it's like a good example of like, you can come as prepared as you want, but you have to be ready to. So that was the big thing I learned, was to.
Right on. Yeah, and luckily because you're open, you allowed the movie gods and goddesses to give you something better, right?
Exactly.
Chris, Nick, you guys, same question.
Go ahead, Nick. You want to answer first?
Sure. Yeah. By the way, I totally feel your sentiment on that of, being on set with an editor's mindset. It's been super helpful for us to be more effective and be like, no, we got it. I've already cut the scene as I'm watching it happen. I know what's going to cut. It's good. Something I learned, honestly, going back to the pacing conversation, is like, we haven't made something in this like genre this long. We've done a couple of shorter things, but learning how to pace it and, figuring out what's too much time, what's not enough time, what did we lose the audience leading them this way? All of those things were kind of like, we really dug into that, and it was really fun to go, let's try that. Let's cut this scene a couple different ways. And, kind of, there's a really weird edit of a couple of those scenes on my computer that I'm like, I just had to try it and see if this would help.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. I think that was something that I learned a lot of was specifically the pacing, it was, like I said, we've done more comedy, so we're comfortable there, but realizing the connection between the two, but also the differences was a fun place to be.
Cool.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on that and say, as a director, we always want more, for our editors or ourselves in the edit. But something that we've been learning throughout the course of our career has been really nothing is wasted. Even if the scene doesn't end in the final project, it's something that we learned about. Even if it's through failure, we had to cut it out because it didn't ultimately meet the pacing needs, or we come back to it later and write that scene into something else. We really everything from building that the Mini Coupe existed because it was part of a separate project that ended up not getting legs. And so it became this like perfect little centerpiece for us. So I think, as a creative person, a lot of times, there's a lot of different barriers we work through of fear of failure or didn't do enough or whatever, but nothing ultimately is wasted. If you're creating, you're creating, and it comes back around or it kind of buoys you for the next chapter of your life. So,
I hear you. All right. Last question. What's next for you? Chris, the camera's on you.
Camera's on me. We are currently working on hopefully a feature film that'll come out. Not come out. We'll be working on it next year. So we're really excited. It's in a genre we really like. kind
Feature
of-
film?
Yeah, scary and
First feature?
No, this would be our third. We did
Oh, okay.
three. We've done 3 little indies prior, but this would be a big step up for us with a team that we really, really love. So
Our fourth, brother.
fourth. Oh my God, this would be our fourth, not our third. Wow, it's been COVID, guys. The pandemic stole years of my life and my brain. But yeah, this would be our fourth. Thank you, Nick.
Well,
and-
Chris, you're kind of answering for Nick too, right? I mean, you guys are together, you know?
yeah, but yes, we always work together as brothers, and it makes a nice flow of it. So we'll see. In between there, we've been talking about doing some shorts as this builds out, because as you guys know, the film is it's wild. You say we're going to start in May, and then that turns into December into next May. But that is the plan right now that we're working for. So hopefully we have something really exciting to tell you guys about.
Right
later
on.
next
Can't wait. Nick, you want to add anything to
No, he summed it up great.
that?
year.
Kelly, what's next?
Yeah, I've created a sitcom, and we've produced a pilot, and we've got an improv series that we're pushing out on socials to get the word out about the project. It's called Sunny Acres, and it's about 2 kooky friends that live in an assisted living facility. And they're 80 years old, but they're played by 20-somethings.
Oh,
And so that's the main project.
look forward to seeing it. Ed, last but not least, what's next for you?
Yeah, so the crew I made the film with is like a group of people I've worked with for years, and we do a lot of work for hire. So this is our first project for us. So we got a couple shorts ideas in the near term that we're developing. Always going to try to keep Kelly in mind as well for those. And then this was really Don't Hate Me is designed to be sort of the opening of a feature film idea. So I'm still working on developing that as well. And last thing I'd say is we're still sort of promoting this. It's going to have its YouTube release in November for everyone to see. And just want to thank you guys for the San Francisco Short Film Festival for having us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for making this film and submitting to us. Well, that's all the time we have. You guys, all of you, thank you for being here and sharing your filmmaking process with us. Really loved your films. Well done. Keep making more.
Thank
And
you.
I hope to meet all of you in person someday.
Yes.
Likewise.
All right, people. Thanks for watching another Q&A of the 2024 San Francisco Independent Short Film Festival. Catch more at sfindy.com. Bye.